The council chamber floated in the darkness of space, massive ring of metal and glass that housed the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Inside, representatives from 47 different species sat in their designated seats, discussing matters that affected trillions of lives across thousands of worlds. Today's topic was humanity. Councillor. Vexstar stood at the central podium, his scaled skin reflecting the blue light of the chamber. He was Kryn, a species that had ruled 3 star systems for over 2,000 years. To him, humans were nothing special. Just another young race that had barely left their home planet. The humans' request expanded trade routes, Vexstar announced, his voice dripping with contempt. They want access to the inner systems. They believe they have earned this right. He paused, letting out a sound that might have been laughter. I propose we deny this request. Humans are useful as laborers and miners. Nothing more? Ambassador Tae Kim sat in the human section of the chamber, a small booth near the back. He was a quiet man in his 40s, with graying hair and tired eyes. He had been Earth's voice in this chamber for 5 years, and in those 5 years, he had watched his people be dismissed, insulted, and ignored. But he remained calm. He always remained calm, Councillor Vexstar, Tae said, standing slowly. My people ask only for fair treatment under galactic law. We have followed every rule. We have paid every taxes. We have proven ourselves peaceful and productive. Why do you continue to deny us basic rights? Vexstar turned to face him. Because you are children playing in a universe you do not understand. The elder races have maintained order for millennia. You have been here for barely 2 decades? Learn your place, human. In the observation deck high above, an ancient being known as Marseth watched the exchange. He was one of the observers, a species so old that most had forgotten their true name. His 3 eyes blinked slowly as he turned to his young assistant. Have you read the Forbidden Archives? Marseth asked quietly. The assistant shook her head. No, Elder. They are sealed. There is a warning there, Marseth continued, his voice like wind through dead trees. About species 7 Alpha. About humans. It says to never threaten their young. It says they are a species born of violence who learn to channel it into protection. The old ones who wrote that warning, they knew something we had forgotten. But Elder, humans are weak. They have no natural weapons. No thick armor. They are soft. Marseth's eyes closed. That is what makes them dangerous. They had to become clever to survive. They had to become relentless. And when you threaten what they love most, he trailed off, looking back at the council chamber. I fear we are about to remember why that warning was written. 3 days later, the transport ship New Hope drifted through the outer rim of colonized space. Captain Hannah Cho sat in the command chair, reviewing the navigation charts. Behind her, the ship hummed with life. 2,000 civilians were aboard, heading to a new colony world where they would build homes, plant crops, and raise their families. 800 of those civilians were children. Among those children was a 9-year-old girl named Nari. She sat in the observation deck with her mother, pressing her small hands against the transparent wall, watching the stars slide by. Her father was Ambassador Tae Kim, back on Apex Prime, working to secure a better future for her and all the other children on this ship. Mom, will Dad come visit us on the new planet? Nari asked. Her mother smiled and stroked her daughter's hair. Of course, sweetheart, as soon as he can. The ship's alarm suddenly blared. Red lights flooded the corridors. Captain Hannah's voice came over the intercom, calm but urgent. All passengers, please move to the emergency shelters. This is not a drill. 5 Kryn warships had appeared from nowhere, surrounding the New Hope. They were massive vessels, 1 3 times the size of the human transport. Their weapons were already powered up, glowing with barely contained energy. A message came through to Captain Hannah's console. The face of a Kryn commander appeared on screen, his eyes cold and hard. Human vessel, you are in violation of Kryn territorial space. You will surrender your cargo as passage tax, or you will be destroyed. Hannah felt her heart racing but kept her voice steady. We are in neutral space as designated by galactic law. We have paid all required fees. We are not carrying military cargo. We are a civilian transport carrying families and children. The Kryn commander's face twisted into something like a smile. Galactic law is what we say it is. You have 10 seconds to comply. Hannah looked at her crew. They all knew what this was. This was robbery. This was bullying. This was everything the Galactic Council claimed didn't happen anymore. We will not comply, Hannah said firmly. You have no legal right to our cargo. The Kryn commander's smile vanished. Then you will die. The weapons fired before Hannah could even sound the alarm. Energy beams tore through the New Hope shields like they were made of paper. The first blast hit the engine room, killing 12 people instantly. The second hit the residential deck. Nari was still holding her mother's hand when the wall exploded. The last thing she saw was the stars she had been admiring, suddenly so much closer. And then there was nothing. The New Hope's emergency drives kicked in automatically, jumping the broken ship away from the attack. Of the 2,000 people who had been aboard, only 1,353 were still alive. 647 children had died in the attack. Their bodies floated in the void, small and fragile. Surrounded by the debris of their broken dreams, Captain Hannah, bleeding from a dozen wounds, sent an emergency message back to Earth. Just 4 words: they killed our children. When the message reached Ambassador Tay Kim on Apex Prime, he was in a meeting with minor trade officials. His assistant entered the room, her face pale, and handed him a data pad. Tay read the message. Read the casualty list. Saw his daughter's name. The data pad fell from his hands and clattered on the floor. The trade officials stopped talking. Everyone in the room stared at the ambassador as he stood slowly, his face completely blank. Ambassador Kim? One official asked. Is everything all right? Tay didn't answer. He simply walked out of the room, out of the embassy, and into the cold corridors of Apex Prime. He walked until he found an empty observation deck. He stood there, staring out at the stars, and finally, he allowed himself to feel it. The grief came first, crushing and absolute. Then came something else. Something cold. Something that his ancestors had known well. Something that humanity had tried so hard to leave behind. Tay activated his communication device and sent a single encrypted message to Earth. Just 2 words. Come home. All across the galaxy. Every human diplomat, every human worker, every human trader received the same message. Within hours, they began to leave. They said nothing. They made no threats. They simply packed their belongings and headed back to Earth. The Galactic Council barely noticed. They assumed humanity had accepted its place in the universe. They assumed wrong. On Earth, in a secret command center deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Wude received the orders he had been waiting 20 years to execute. He looked at his staff, his face carved from stone. Activate the Shadow Fleet, he said quietly. It's time to teach the galaxy the first rule. 72 hours had passed since the attack. The Galactic Council met an emergency session, not to discuss justice for the murdered children, but to address what they called the human cargo dispute. Counselor Vexstar presented his report with barely concealed pride. The Kryn military had acted within their rights, he claimed. The human ship had been warned. The matter was closed. The vote was quick. 42 species voted to accept the Kryn explanation. 3 abstained, only to vote against it. The official statement was released across all galactic channels. An unfortunate incident occurred involving a human transport vessel. The matter has been investigated and resolved. No further action is required. On Earth, President Kai Sung watched the council broadcast from his office. He was a broad-shouldered man with silver hair and eyes that had seen too much war in his youth. He had fought in the last conflicts before humanity reached the stars. He had hoped his children would never know such violence. Now, he knew better. He turned off the screen and activated his secure communication line. Within minutes, the faces of Earth's top military commanders, intelligence directors, and scientific advisors appeared on the wall. They have given us their answer, Kai said, his voice steady and cold. They believe we will accept this. They believe we are weak. They are wrong. He paused, looking at each face on the screen. Activate Severance Protocol. Authorization code Omega Black 7. Everything we planned for, everything we built in secret, it all happens now. The response was immediate. Across Earth and her colonies, transformation began that the galaxy would not understand until it was far too late. Every human trading post in alien space began to close. The workers didn't rush. They didn't panic. They simply finished their shifts, packed their belongings, and left. When asked why, they smiled politely and said they were needed elsewhere. Human cargo ships stopped making deliveries. Human mining operations went silent. Human tech specialists working on alien worlds requested immediate transport home. Within a week, tens of thousands of humans had simply vanished from the galactic economy. The alien races barely noticed at first. Humans were such a small part of the galactic workforce. Surely their absence wouldn't matter. But then the cracks began to show. On the industrial world of Nexus 4, the power grid collapsed. Human engineers had maintained the aging fusion reactors, making constant small adjustments that kept everything running. Without them, the reactors began to fail. The local government hired replacements, but they couldn't figure out the human modifications. 3 cities went dark. On the trading hub of Velshera, the quantum communication network started experiencing delays. Human technicians had optimized the relay systems, improving efficiency by 30%. Now those improvements were gone, and messages that used to take seconds now took hours. Trade slowed. Profits dropped. On 17 different worlds, similar problems emerged. Nothing catastrophic. Nothing dramatic. Just a slow realization that humanity had been holding together. Far more than anyone realized, but the galaxy still didn't understand. They thought this was a protest. A tantrum. They believed humans would come back when they got. Desperate for money and trade, they didn't know about the Shadow Fleet. Admiral Uday stood on the bridge of the warship Retribution, watching as more ships emerged from the asteroid field where they had been hidden for 2 decades. Each vessel was a masterpiece of secret engineering, built in hollowed-out asteroids and dead planets far from prying eyes. The galaxy thought humans were building mining stations. They were half right. The ships were beautiful and terrible. They incorporated human innovation with stolen alien technology, improved and perfected. Humans were good at learning from others and making it better. They had learned from the best warriors in the galaxy and built something none of them had ever seen. Status report, Wu commanded. His tactical officer, Commander Gina Park, looked up from her console. 276 ships, fully operational. All crews at 100% readiness. Weapons systems armed and calibrated. We are ready, Admiral, Wu nodded slowly. He was an old man now in his 70s, but his mind was sharp and his purpose was clear. He had lost a granddaughter in the attack. Little Sumi had been only 7 years old. She had loved drawing pictures of stars and planets. Now she was gone, and the galaxy thought her death didn't matter. Begin Phase 1, Wu ordered. Silent running. I want observation teams on every major Kryn military installation. I want to know where every ship is, where every commander sleeps, where every weapons depot stores its ammunition. And I want them to never know we're watching. The Shadow Fleet dispersed, vanishing into the darkness between stars. They moved without light, without emissions, using technology that made them nearly invisible. The Kryn military, confident in their superiority, never saw them coming. Back on Apex Prime, Ambassador Tae Kim had not left. While every other human had returned home, he remained in the embassy alone. He sat in his office, the lights dim, surrounded by silence. Other ambassadors tried to speak with him. They offered condolences, political platitudes, empty words about peace and moving forward. Tae listened to each one with the same blank expression. When they finished, he would say only one thing. My daughter's name was Nari. Remember it. Counselor Vexstar never came to offer condolences. Why would he? The Kryn believed they had one. They believed humanity had been put in its place. Then the disappearances began. First, it was a remote science station on the edge of Kryn space. The crew sent their routine check-in at 0800 hours. By 0805, there was silence. Search teams found the station intact but empty. No bodies, no signs of struggle. Just empty corridors and abandoned workstations. Then a mining facility vanished. Then a military listening post. Then a supply depot. Each time, the pattern was the same. Everything intact. Everyone gone. No evidence. No witnesses. The Kryn High Command tried to keep it quiet, but rumors spread. Some said it was a new weapon. Others whispered about ghosts. A few paranoid voices suggested it might be human retaliation, but they were laughed at. Humans didn't have that kind of capability, did they? On the 7th day, a Kryn patrol fleet of 12 ships went to investigate one of the missing stations. They arrived, began their scans, and then their communications went silent. The Kryn military sent a larger fleet to find them. That fleet never reported back either. Fleet. Admiral Vorn of the Kryn Armada had served for 40 years. He had fought in 3 wars and never lost a battle. Now he stared at the reports on his desk, trying to make sense of the impossible. 27 installations had gone silent. 2 full patrol fleets had vanished. And not one piece of evidence pointed to who or what was responsible. It's the humans, his intelligence officer said quietly. It has to be. Vorn slammed his fist on the desk. Impossible. We know everything about human military capability. They have maybe 50 warships, all of them outdated designs. They don't have the technology or the training to do this. Then who? The officer asked. Vorn had no answer. But deep in his gut, beneath all his pride and confidence, he felt something he hadn't felt in decades. Fear Ambassador Takim sat in his empty embassy, waiting. His communication device blinked with an incoming message. He activated it, and Admiral Wuday's face appeared. Phase 1 is complete, Wu reported. We have them mapped. We have them measured. We know everything about them. When you give the word, we will proceed to Phase 2. Tay was quiet for a long moment. Do you know what my daughter said to me before she left? She asked if the galaxy was a good place. If the aliens were kind. His voice cracked slightly. I told her yes. I told her she would be safe. I'm sorry, Tay, Wu said softly. Don't be sorry, Tay replied, his voice hardening. Just be ready. The Galactic Council meets tomorrow to discuss our withdrawal from Galactic Society. They think we're running away. Let them think that. When they realize the truth, it will be too late. He looked directly at the screen. Proceed to Phase 2. Show them what happens when they break the first rule. Wu nodded, and the screen went dark. Takim stood and walked to the window, looking out at the infinite stars. Somewhere out there, his daughter's body floated in the void. He would bring her home. He would bring all of them home, and he would make sure the galaxy never forgot their names. The Kryn homeworld of Krioneth was a planet of dark red stone and purple skies. It had been the center of their empire for 3,000 years, a symbol of their power and permanence. In the capital city of Warmac, the civilian population went about their daily lives. Confident in the protection of their mighty military, they had no idea that death was already among them. Commander Gina Park led her strike team through the underground. Maintenance tunnels beneath the city's main power station. There were 12 humans in her squad, all of them volunteers who had lost family in the attack. They moved in complete silence, their suits absorbing all sound and light. To any scanner, they were invisible. To any guard, they were ghosts. Target in sight, Gina whispered into her com. Beginning Phase 2, Alpha? They didn't plant bombs. They didn't kill anyone. Instead, they carefully removed 3 critical components from the power distribution system. Small parts that would take weeks to replace. Parts that the Kryn engineers would never notice were missing until it was too late. 6 hours later, the power grid serving 2 million Kryn citizens failed. Not with an explosion or drama, but with a simple, quiet shutdown. The lights went out. The heating systems stopped. The water treatment plants went offline. Life didn't end. It just became very, very difficult. The same pattern repeated across Kryn space. Human teams struck at infrastructure, not people. Communication arrays mysteriously developed faults. Food distribution centers lost their refrigeration. Medical supply depots found their inventory management systems corrupted. Hospital backup generators failed their safety checks. No one died. That was important. The humans made sure no one died. They were sending a message. We could kill you. We choose not to. We are better than you. The Kryn High Command was in chaos. Fleet Admiral Vorn stood in the war room surrounded by panicked reports from across their territory. His officers shouted over each other, trying to make sense of the coordinated attacks. Silence. Vorn roared. The room fell quiet. He looked at each officer with cold fury. This is human retaliation. It's obvious now. They're using terror tactics because they cannot face us in open combat. Admiral, his intelligence officer, spoke carefully. We still have no confirmed sightings of human forces. We don't know how they're moving through our space undetected. And find them. Vorn slammed his fist on the tactical display. Gather the full armada. Every ship. Every weapon. We will go to Earth and end this infestation once and for all. The intelligence officer looked pale. Admiral, that's 1,200 warships. Are you certain we need that many for one planet? Vorn's eyes burned with rage and humiliation. The humans think they can threaten the Kryn Empire. We will show them the price of defiance. We will turn their homeworld to ash. The armada began to gather at the staging point near the edge of Kryn space. It was the largest fleet the Kryn had assembled in 2 centuries. Ship after ship jumped into position, until the darkness of space was filled with metal and menace. They were confident. They outnumbered the known human military forces by more than 4 to 1. On Apex Prime, the Galactic Council gathered to watch. This would be a lesson, they thought. A reminder of what happened to species that didn't know their place. Some council members felt uncomfortable, but they said nothing. The Kryn were powerful, and it was best not to anger them. Old Marseth sat in his observation booth, his 3 eyes filled with sadness. Fools, he whispered to himself. They still don't understand. The Kryn armada jumped into human space, emerging near Earth's moon. They expected to find defenses scrambling, panic spreading, perhaps a desperate plea for mercy. Instead, they found Admiral Wude waiting for them with 180 ships arranged in perfect formation. Fleet. Admiral Vorn's face appeared on all communication channels. Addressing the human fleet, Humans, you have attacked Kryn territory and murdered Kryn citizens through your sabotage. We demand your immediate and unconditional surrender. You have 10 minutes to comply. Admiral Wude, sitting calmly in his command chair, activated his own transmission. His old face was peaceful, almost serene. Admiral Vorn, you attacked a civilian transport ship. You murdered 647 children. Their names are Nari, Sumi, Bomi, Taeyang, Heywan, Yu-Jun, ... He continued speaking, naming every single child. It took him 43 minutes. The Kryn fleet waited, confused and growing impatient. Some officers suggested attacking, but Vorn held them back. Something felt wrong. When Wu finished the last name, he looked directly at the camera. The galaxy will remember those children. Now the galaxy will remember what happens when you kill them. You came here with 1,200 ships. You will leave with 553. The remaining 647 ships will pay for 647 lives. You have 30 seconds to choose which ships will volunteer. Vorn laughed. It was a harsh, mocking sound. You have 180 ships against our 1,200. Your mathematics are as weak as your military. All vessels, prepare to fire. Fire, Wu said simply. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for the next 1,000 years. The human ships moved in perfect coordination, executing maneuvers that seemed to defy physics. They didn't fight like a fleet. They fought like a single organism with one mind. Kryn ships began to explode. Not from random fire, but with surgical precision. The humans targeted specific systems, specific weak points that the Kryn didn't even know existed. Every shot hit its mark. Every human weapon cut through Kryn's shields as if they weren't there. The Kryn had superior numbers. The humans had superior everything else. Fighter pilots launched from the human carriers, each cockpit painted with a child's name. Pilot Sangwoo, flying for Little Nari, destroyed 3 Kryn battleships in 7 minutes. Pilot Yoonji, flying for Little Sumi, crippled an entire squadron. They fought with cold precision and burning rage. A combination the Kryn had never faced. Fleet Admiral Vorn watched his mighty armada torn apart. His officers screamed reports at him, but he couldn't process the information. It was impossible. The humans were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to be primitive. How did they have weapons like this? How did they have training like this? All ships, retreat. Vorn finally shouted. Full retreat. But the human fleet had already counted. Exactly 647 Kryn ships had been destroyed. The remaining vessels suddenly found the human weapons going silent. The human ships pulled back, forming a corridor through which the Kryn could flee. You may leave now, Admiral Wuday's voice came over the comm. Tell your council what you saw here. Tell them this was mercy. Tell them we could have taken all of you, but we chose justice over vengeance. Tell them that the next time they threaten human children, we will not be so kind. The broken Kryn armada fled, jumping away in disorder and shame. The human ships did not pursue. They simply held position, standing guard over their homeworld, on the Retribution's bridge. Admiral Wuday stood and looked at his crew. Many of them were crying. Some were smiling. All of them looked exhausted. Well done, Wu said quietly. Send a message to all human forces across the galaxy. Phase 2 is complete. Proceed to Phase 3. He paused, looking at the empty space where the Kryn fleet had been. We have shown them our strength. Now we will show them our creativity. And they will learn that humans don't just fight with weapons. We fight with everything we have. Across the galaxy, the message reached human agents embedded in every major civilization. They had been waiting for this moment. They had been preparing for years. Now they would show the Galactic Council that war wasn't just about ships and guns. It was about information, fear, and the systematic destruction of everything your enemy believed to be true. The real war was only beginning. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. The chamber was filled with noise and fear. Every species was shouting at once, demanding answers, making accusations, seeking protection. The footage from the Battle of Luna had spread across every network in the galaxy. Everyone had seen the Kryn armada broken and scattered like leaves in a storm. Counselor Vextar stood at his podium, scaled hands gripping the edges so tightly that the metal bent. His pride was wounded. His species had been humiliated. And now he demanded revenge. The humans have committed an act of war. Vextar's voice echoed through the chamber. They have attacked Kryn territory. They have destroyed Kryn ships. They have proven themselves to be a threat to galactic peace. I call for a united military response. Every species must contribute ships to destroy this human menace before they threaten us all. There was murmuring throughout the chamber. Some species nodded in agreement. Others looked uncertain. A few looked terrified. The counselor from the Varan Collective, a species known for logic and caution, raised one of her forearms. Counselor Vextar, the humans attacked in response to the murder of their children. They showed restraint by destroying exactly the number of ships equal to lives lost. They could have destroyed your entire fleet, but chose not to. Perhaps we should consider their demands for justice instead of escalation. Vextar turned on her with fury. Justice. They want justice. They are primitives who have forgotten their place. We will teach them to fear the elder races. 16 species pledged their fleets to the Kryn cause. Over 8,000 warships would gather to crush humanity once and for all. The vote was close, but it passed. The galaxy would go to war. Ambassador Tae Kim had been sitting silently in the human booth throughout the entire session. Now he stood slowly. The chamber fell quiet. Everyone wanted to hear what the grieving father would say. Tay activated his communication device, and his voice was broadcast not just through the council chamber, but across every communication network in the galaxy, every planet, every ship, every home. They would all hear this. You had one chance, Tay said, his voice soft but filled with cold iron. One chance to do the right thing, to punish those who murdered children, to show that justice exists in this galaxy. You chose pride instead. You chose power instead. Now you will learn what my species learned thousands of years ago in the ancient wars that nearly destroyed our own world. You will learn that there are no winners in war, only survivors, and you will not be among them. The transmission ended. Tay Kim walked out of the council chamber. He would never return. On Earth, President Kai Sung gave the order that would change everything. Release Phase 3. All of it. Captain Sung Hae sat in a small room surrounded by computer screens. He was humanity's best cyber warfare specialist, a quiet man in his 30s who could break into any system in the galaxy. He had been preparing for this moment for 5 years. Beginning full network infiltration, Sung said to his team, "Target every Galactic Council species that voted for war. Let's show them what we found." Human hackers had been inside alien computer networks for years, quietly watching, quietly copying, quietly learning every dirty secret that the Council races thought were hidden. Now all those secrets came flooding out on the Kryn homeworld. Every citizen's communication device suddenly displayed documents, showing how their own government had been lying to them for decades. The glorious war victories they had been taught about were actually defeats covered up with false reports. The prosperity they enjoyed came from illegal weapons sales to species that were officially their enemies. The council members they trusted were corrupt beyond measure. The same thing happened on 15 other worlds. Banking records showing officials stealing public funds. Military reports showing unnecessary wars started for profit. Communications revealing that the species considered primitive were actually being deliberately held back to provide cheap labor. Every lie, every crime, every betrayal, all of it exposed in one massive data dump. Within hours, riots broke out. Not wars against humans, but civil unrest as populations turned on their own leaders. Governments fell. Council members were arrested by their own people. The galactic order began to crack. But humans weren't done. Dr. Mira Yoon sat in her laboratory, looking at the small vial in her hand. She was a xenobiologist, one of the best humanity had ever produced. She had spent 10 years studying alien biology, learning how each species' DNA worked, understanding their weaknesses. Now she had created something terrible. The vial contained a virus. It was specifically designed to target Kryn biology. It wouldn't hurt them directly, but it would attack the plant life they depended on for food. Every crop, every tree, everything that made their world livable. Mira activated her broadcast to the galaxy. Her face appeared on screens everywhere, calm and professional. She held up the vial. "This is strain number 1, she said simply. "I created it in 6 days. It targets Kryn agricultural biology. If released on their homeworld, every plant would die within 72 hours. The planet would become uninhabitable." She placed the vial down and picked up another. "This is strain number 2. It targets the Varan Collective's water purification bacteria. Without it, their water becomes toxic." Another vial. "Strain number 3. Strain number 4. Strain number 5. She lined up 647 vials on the table before her. "I have created 647 different biological agents," Myra continued. "One for each child you killed. Each one targets a different species that voted for war against us. I will create one new strain every day until justice is served. I will not release them. Not yet. But every day you delay, every day you refuse to acknowledge what you have done, I will perfect these weapons. And eventually, when you force my hand, I will use them." The galaxy watched in horror. This was not the war they understood. This was not fleets and battles and honor. This was systematic, calculated devastation. This was humans fighting the way they had fought each other for thousands of years, before they learned to be better. 5 council species immediately withdrew their support for military action. Their populations were already rioting. Their governments were collapsing. And now, they faced the threat of biological extinction. They couldn't fight on all these fronts at once. They publicly condemned the Kryn attack on the New Hope. They offered reparations to human families. They begged for mercy. But 11 species remained committed. 11 species still believed they could defeat humanity through force. The Kryn, proud and furious, would not back down. They doubled their fleet commitment. The galaxy split into 3 factions: those who sided with humans, those who sided with the Kryn, and those who tried desperately to stay neutral. Old alliances shattered. Trade routes closed. The galactic peace that had lasted for centuries began to crumble. On the Kryn homeworld, citizens looked up at the sky with new eyes. They had always felt safe, protected by their mighty fleet. Now they realized that safety was an illusion. The humans could reach them anywhere. The humans could destroy them without ever firing a shot. And the worst part was knowing that humans were choosing not to, at least not yet. Fleet Admiral Vorn gathered what remained of his command staff. "We will defend the homeworld," he said. "We will show no weakness. We will wait for the Council fleet to arrive, and then we will strike at Earth with such force that the humans will have no choice but to surrender." But even as he spoke, Vorn knew the truth. The humans had already won, not through conquest, but through fear. Every Kryn citizen was now looking at their leaders and asking the question, was it worth it? Was killing those children worth bringing this nightmare upon us? And the leaders had no good answer. Ambassador Tae Kim stood in an empty room on Apex Prime, looking at a picture of his daughter. She smiled at him from the photograph, full of life and hope. He gently touched the image. "Soon, Nari," he whispered. "Soon they will understand. Soon the galaxy will remember your name." 3 months had passed since the attack on the New Hope. The galaxy that existed before was gone, replaced by something new and uncertain. The combined Council fleet, 8,000 strong, approached the Kryn homeworld to make their final stand against humanity. Admiral Wude stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the enemy fleet arrive. His own forces, the entire Shadow Fleet, surrounded the Kryn homeworld in a silent blockade. 276 ships against 8,000. The numbers said the humans should lose. But numbers meant nothing anymore, Admiral. "The Council fleet is hailing us," Commander Gina Park reported. "Open the channel," Wu replied. The face of a Dravik commander appeared on screen. The Dravik were an old species, known for their honor and military tradition. The commander looked uncomfortable. "Human Admiral, we do not wish to fight you. We have seen what you can do, but we are bound by Council law. We ask that you withdraw your forces and allow us to protect the Kryn homeworld." Wu nodded slowly. "I understand your position, Commander. You are following orders. You believe in duty and honor. So do we. That is why we are here." He gestured to his tactical officer. A new transmission began. It was a recording, showing the inside of a Kryn ship during the attack on the New Hope. The footage had been recovered from the wreckage. It showed Kryn officers laughing as they fired on the civilian transport. It showed them celebrating as the ship broke apart. It showed them joking about teaching the humans a lesson. The recording also included audio. The screams of children could be heard in the background. The desperate calls from Captain Hannah Cho, begging them to stop, telling them there were families aboard. The Kryn commander's response, "Good. Let them die." The Dravik commander's face went pale as he watched. When the recording ended, there was long silence. "We were told it was a military engagement," the Dravik commander finally said, his voice shaking. "We were told the human ship fired first. This is murder," Wu said quietly. "And the Galactic Council called it an unfortunate incident and closed the matter. So we will close the matter in our own way." Wu activated another broadcast, this one going to every ship in the Council fleet and across the entire galaxy. His old face filled screens on thousands of worlds. "I am Admiral Wude of the Human Shadow Fleet. I am going to speak for 3 hours. I am going to read you 647 names. These are the children who died. Each name represents a life that will never be lived, dreams that will never come true, parents who will never stop grieving. Listen to every name. Remember them. This is why we are here, he began to read. Nari Kim, age 9. Sumi Day, age 7. Bomi Cho, age 12. Taeyong Park, age 5. Haewon Sung, age 11. Yujan Lee, age 8. The reading continued. 3 hours. 647 names. Every ship in the Council fleet listened. Every world in the galaxy listened. Some tried to change the channel, but the human broadcast overrode everything. The galaxy would hear these names, whether they wanted to or not. When Admiral Wu finished the last name, he looked directly at the camera. The Kryn homeworld is surrounded. Every defensive satellite, every shield generator, every weapons platform. We have spent 3 months in this blockade, and we have placed our mark on all of them. With one command, I can make this planet defenseless. The Council fleet could conquer it in an afternoon. The Kryn people would be at your mercy. He paused, letting that sink in. But we will not do this, because we are not you. We will show you what you failed to show our children, mercy. A small shuttle departed from the Retribution. Heading toward Apex Prime, the galaxy watched in confusion as the shuttle made the long journey to the Galactic Council station. When it arrived, only one person stepped out. Yunahan was 73 years old. She had lost 2 granddaughters in the attack. Her hair was white, her face was lined with grief, but she walked with dignity and strength. In her hand, she carried a simple data crystal. The Galactic Council chamber was packed. Every species wanted to see what would happen next. Yuna walked to the center of the chamber. She didn't bow. She didn't ask for permission. She simply placed the data crystal on the floor. This contains everything, Yuna said, her voice clear and strong despite her age. The codes to reactivate every Kryn defense we disabled. The cure to every biological weapon we created. The instructions to undo every hack we performed. We give it to you freely. Not because you earned it. Not because you deserve it. But because we are better than you. She looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many council members as she could. We are parents. We are grandparents. We are teachers and farmers and engineers and artists. We are human. We came to the galaxy hoping to find wisdom. We found arrogance instead. We came hoping to find justice. We found cruelty instead. We came hoping to find friends. We found those who thought our children's lives meant nothing. Una's voice grew harder. We have shown you what we are capable of. We have shown you that we can destroy you, but we choose not to. We choose mercy over vengeance. We choose justice over revenge. Remember this moment. Remember it the next time you see a human child. Remember it the next time you think humanity is weak. We are not weak. We are restrained. And there is a very big difference. The chamber was silent. Yuna turned and walked away, leaving the data crystal behind. The vote that followed was unanimous. The Kryn officers responsible for the attack were arrested and sentenced to life imprisonment. Counselor Vexstar was removed from his position and exiled. Every family that lost a child received reparations enough to live comfortably for generations. A monument was built on Apex Prime, listing all 647 names in every galactic language. Beneath the names, a single line was carved. The first rule: never threaten the children of those who were once children of war. The phrase spread across the galaxy. It became more than a memorial. It became law. Every military academy taught it. Every council meeting began with it. Every species understood it. Humanity had earned something more valuable than fear. They had earned respect. 10 years later, Ambassador Tae Kim retired. He was replaced by younger diplomats who had never known the pain of that terrible day. But they carried forward the memory. Humanity was now the 3rd most powerful faction in the Galactic Council. Not because they conquered anyone. Not because they threatened anyone. But because every species remembered what happened when you made an enemy of someone fighting for their children. On Earth, in a quiet cemetery, Admiral Wude visited a small grave. He was 83 now, his hands shaking with age, but he made this visit every week. He placed flowers on the stone that read, Sumi Day, age 7, forever in the stars. The galaxy is different now, he said softly to the grave. Children are protected. There are laws. Real laws with real consequences. No one will ever dismiss the death of a child as an unfortunate incident again. He smiled sadly. You did that, Sumi. You and all the others. The galaxy learned because of you. He stood slowly, his old bones protesting. As he walked away, he looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the galaxy continued. Ships traveled in peace. Children played on 1,000 worlds, and on Apex Prime, a monument stood eternal, reminding everyone of the price of cruelty and the power of love. The first rule was never forgotten, not because it was written in law, but because it was written in memory. The memory of 647 children who should have lived but didn't. The memory of a species that went to war, not for power or glory or conquest, but for the simplest and most powerful reason in the universe, because they were loved. And love, the galaxy finally learned, was the most dangerous force of all.